what does cultural engagement look like for us? What should it look like for us? John MacArthur in recent years, and I think this, by the way, was in critiquing Christian nationalism, said something to the effect of, we realize we don't win down here. That being the case, if that's the case, what should we do down here while we're here?
Well, I'm going to start by saying the same thing I've been saying.
Yeah.
Just because we don't win doesn't mean we don't engage.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody who's ever played in high school sports knows that, right? There's some games you're just not going to win. Doesn't mean you don't play the game, right? And so that's the first statement. But actually, MacArthur says even more than that, right? In his commentary on Revelation, he likens the church's engagement in social issues to rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic so as to have a better view of the ship going down. So now I'm a little hesitant to go that far because it almost suggests that there's no place at all for socio-political engagement, which, knowing John MacArthur as I do, he doesn't mean that, right? But it sounds perhaps like that at face value. I'm convinced that the solution to this problem is the recognition that there are two governments of God in the present dispensation, and we live as dual citizens. The Great Commission gives a very narrow, careful mission to the Christian church, the organized, institutional Christian church. It gives organized churches the responsibility to evangelize, baptize people, which I think is code for bringing them into local communities that we call churches. We teach them God's whole counsel, and we instruct them on how to obey what God has said. And it's all in anticipation of the soon return of Christ, who is with us always, right? We shouldn't be distracted as churches by civic affairs or political gamesmanship, even public ethical causes and philanthropy, as good as those things are, because that's not the task of institutional churches. Now, it is the responsibility of responsible citizens, right, who live our lives as individual humans seamlessly under, I would understand, still under the dominion mandate, still under the Noahic covenant, which is given for all people in all ages. We should be the most generous, the most industrious, the most constructive people in the world. We should be model humans. We should be model citizens. We should be model parents. We should be model students, teachers. We should be model oboe players. Whatever we do, we should be the best that we can, because we are supposed to be model humans in God's order. But what ends up happening is those things can become significant line items in the church's mission and to the point in the church's budget, right? And what ends up happening is it crowds out the mission, the purpose of the institutional church. And I think it's our responsibility as pastors to make sure that we stay in our lanes, right? Rendering to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, yep, and rendering to God the things that are God's, or as Baptists put it, to maintain the distinction between church and state, which goes both ways, right? The state doesn't tell the church when and how and where it should do church, nor should the church encroach into civic matters to the degree that what ends up happening is that their own mission is lost.
Right. Yeah, I think putting a bow on that is the statement, we are to be in the world, but we're not of the world.